Welcome to this service for people in recovery. You are welcome, whatever your stage in recovery, whatever your addiction, and whether you have a faith or not. My name is Tracy and I am a woman in recovery. For the next 2 to 3 weeks, there will only be pre-records as I'm having surgery, but as soon as I'm able, I will go live again. This service takes the form of a reflection type inventory, a share based on a short reading and 12-step prayers. If you are missing being in the service with others, why not start a conversation in the comments section below the video about what you've heard, and maybe others will join in. As usual, we start our service by looking for the positives in the week that has been. For those of us who use inventory tools, we're encouraged to note the good things in our lives on a daily basis. We might be thankful this morning for specific people who are in our lives, or maybe events, but it might also be something as small and simple as being able to go outside for a walk. So in a moment of quiet, bring to mind those things that you are thankful for today. If you want to, you could type them in the comments box below the video, and maybe others will too when they watch it. But we hold a moment of silence. As part of the 10th step discipline, we also take time each day to bring to mind those times when we've thought, said or done things which were not great. The times when we were resentful, selfish, self-depreciating, or times when we should have offered apologies or amends and did not. So we hold a moment of quiet now as we bring those things to mind. And as we do so, we say sorry to God, who is willing to forgive us each time we mess up, however many times we do so, if we are honest with him. So we hold a moment of quiet while we bring those things to mind. To end this time of prayer, we're going to use a 10th step prayer, and it will hopefully appear on the screen. So we say together, God, remove the selfishness, dishonesty, resentment and fear that has cropped up in my life right now. Help me to discuss this with someone immediately and make amends quickly if I have harmed anyone. Help me to cease fighting anything or anyone. Show me where I may be helpful to someone else. Help me to react sanely, not cocky or afraid. How can I best serve you? Your will, not mine, be done. Amen. Each week we've been reflecting on a different step in the 12-step programme. And this week we're thinking about the 4th step. Step 4 says this: made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Well, in order to reflect on it, we're also going to hear a short reading from John chapter 8. If you stick with this, living out what I tell you, you are my disciples for sure. Then you will experience for yourselves the truth, and the truth will set you free. Surprised, they said, but we're descendants of Abraham. We've never been slaves to anyone. How can you say the truth will set you free? Jesus said, I tell you most solemnly that anyone who chooses a life of sin is trapped in a dead-end life and is, in fact, a slave. A slave is a transient who can't come and go at will. The Son, though, has an established position, the run of the house. So if the Son sets you free, you are free through and through. Well, truth or lack of it, seems to have been a major theme in the news this week, doesn't it? Denial of truths, twisting of facts to make a new truth, and so on. I've been one of those angered this week by the actions and behaviour of Dominic Cummings and the Prime Minister. However, it's also made me take a bit of a look at myself too. It's very easy to point the finger at others, to point out other people's flaws, but not so easy to point out our own. I'm certainly not saying that the events of this week should be ignored. Indeed, speaking truth to power is a gospel imperative. But we also need to be reminded that we too make mistakes and we hurt others, whether intended or not. For me, step 4 is huge. The first time I read it, I was taken aback and I couldn't understand how anyone would want to remind themselves of a lifetime of mistakes. But step 4 is a crucial part of the programme, and for me, essential in life if we're to be decent human beings in society. The whole programme is founded on the word honesty, which is the spiritual principle in the first step. Step 4 is all about being honest with yourself. The spiritual principle for step 4 is courage. We certainly need courage if we're going to face up to the reality of ourselves and all that we are and have done. The reading in John can sound a bit weird. All this talk of the truth setting you free. But for those of us who've worked step 4, we can maybe understand it better than many others. When we keep a secret about ourselves or try to hide something that we've said or done which we know has been wrong, it begins to eat away at us. Often unnoticed to begin with, it begins to have a hold on us, and so begins our captivity. Our insanity begins to just whisper in our ear that if anyone found out, we would be judged, rejected, or humiliated. We begin to feel fearful and anxious, and that can go on for a lifetime. I was 49 when I first completed step 4 for the first time, and I didn't know where to start on my inventory. So I followed Russell Brand's advice and began with the birth onwards. It was emotional at times, working out who I had resented. It was relatively easy to say what they had done to cause me to be resentful and how it had affected me. The hardest bit was the final column, when I had to be honest and admit to the way that I had behaved or used the situation. I'm someone who beats themselves up daily for what I say and do, and I can spend hours some nights just replaying the day and trying to work out how I might possibly have been misinterpreted, how I might have hurt people, and then I spend time worrying about what they think about me. This isn't freedom. And the thought of writing pages of my indiscretions just filled me with dread. How was I ever going to sleep again? But actually, each time I wrote something down and admitted it to myself, there was a slight loosening of the chains that were binding me. Richard Rohr, in the book that I've been talking about in the last few weeks, points out that we must change if we are to recover. Change begins with honesty. He goes on to say that moral scrutiny is not to discover how good or bad I am and regain some moral high ground, but it's to begin some honest shadow boxing, which is at the heart of all spiritual awakening. I quite like the image of shadow boxing. The shadow side of me is the side that I don't normally want to see. In the big book of AA, this is called the denial. Russell Brand, in his recovery book, suggests that steps 4 and 5 are the inescapable admin steps. That steps 1 to 3, we're dealing with more abstract concepts, but in step 4, we face the truth. While we are hiding in the shadows and denying the truth about ourselves, we are not free. Our perception of reality becomes warped. Our thoughts become all-consuming as we wonder what other people would think, what will happen to us if anyone ever found out. Often things in our head become bigger than they actually are. We carry around guilt and shame, and our addictions are then tools to try and calm us down, provide some temporary relief from the pain, comfort us and hide. This isn't freedom. I have spent so many years living with the past, and it messed me up and it made me act in ways I don't like, and I became a person that I didn't much like. But step 4 gave me insight into the who, what and how. But he also gave me perspective. And I'm a different person because of it. I'm not totally free, but I'm a work in progress. I know I'll keep having to shadow box with myself and be honest, but the freedom I experience is worth it. God doesn't want me to live in fear and incarceration. He wants me to live life to the full, to know forgiveness and to be free. So wherever you are in your journey of recovery, however many times you may have completed step 4, keep going back to it. Keep being courageous in your honesty and allow yourself to be freed forever. Thanks for listening. To follow on from this, we're going to say the 4th step prayer together. It is I who has made my life a mess. I have done it, but I cannot undo it. My mistakes are mine, and I will begin a searching and fearless moral inventory. I will write down my wrongs, but I will also include that which is good. I pray for the strength to complete the task. Amen. Each week we spend a little time thinking of those who are on our hearts in some way. It might be a person or a group of people who we are concerned about at the moment, or it might be a situation in the country or the world. Sometimes there are things we can do to serve and help out, but sometimes all we can do is offer them up to our higher power. So in a moment of quiet, we hold them before God and in our mind. We're also going to spend a few moments thinking about the week ahead. The things we know or suspect will happen this week, which are causing us some fear or anxiety. Sometimes just the act of verbalising those things can remove some of the power that they're holding over us in our minds. We bring those situations to mind and ask God to take them from us, to help us to live just one day at a time. After we've held that silence, we'll say the Serenity Prayer together as a reminder that we cannot control everything. So the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thanks for joining me this week. There'll be another pre-record here on YouTube next week when we'll have a look at step 5. But in the meantime, have a blessed week. God bless.